history, and you just did a magnificent job of going into the why and the how we got to this point psychologically. And I think we need to go there a little bit because it's deep. This part of the book, I have to say, it's top heavy in terms of what happened. How did we go from being, because at one point we were a matriarchal society, over into a patriarchal society. And I really want to spend some time, I'd like us to take our time, if you will, to go into what happened, because I think it's going to shock a lot of people. Would you mind indulging us a bit, Christine?
Not at all. And if I may just correct you just a little bit,
please.
We actually went from an egalitarian society, which means that we were equal. I mean, that's what's more shocking, that it wasn't going from one to another. It was actually that men and women respected each other up to 3,500 years ago.
Okay.
And they've done that as far as we understand historically, and of course we are somewhat limited, but we see that. We've been doing that for thousands of years. We can go back to 30,000 years, and we can see that sort of society that was being lived in many, many areas of the world. And I'm thinking about that yesterday. You know, we talk about hundreds of years. We don't even perceive something that's been going on for 30,000 years
that's right.
as the norm. And yet within a short period of time, and that's really where we're coming to, a big change happened to take us to where we are now. So, you know, you think, how did that shift happen? We know that 3,500 years ago, women were respected for their body, for what they were able to do, for the not only the ability to produce children, and that again is sometimes, you know, I get annoyed that we're always talking about how women's purpose is to produce children. That's such a small part of what women are about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I may just say that the figures are that, you know, as a woman we have 425 cycles in our reproductive years, and we produce 1 to 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
That is a complete enigma to say that we are only here to produce the 1 or 2 children over 400 cycles. That's a waste of energy.
That would be a waste. I was going to say, that's right.
If we really wanted that, let's just have like 24 cycles, maybe 2 years of this, and then we could produce our children then, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We are much more than that. We are actually giving birth not just to children, but to consciousness, and that's what women have forgotten. And what seems to have happened was that there was, and we always talk about this invasion from the north, but there was an invasion of those who believed much more in a patriarchal rule, in a hierarchical rule, in a much more masculine-based rule, where instead of having honor for the Earth Mother and all her different ways of being, and the cosmic mother, but again, not saying that there wasn't a cosmic father and gods and goddesses, they chose to say, women, we are not wanting women to have so much power. And the power that they were most worried about was the power of life and death. And what they saw was that there were periods of time in anybody's life when chaos and death would come upon us.
Mm-hmm.
And the patriarchy, in their wisdom, said, why should we let anything, even death, change our purpose, change our path? We will destroy the means by which death appears. And one of the ways in which they saw, first of all, chaos and death were under the rule of women. Under the feminine mythology, it was called the primordial waters. It was believed that there were times where there was a feminine energy that came up and would take away that which we had built in order to destroy it so that new life could be given.
Mm-hmm.
Now, women go through that cycle every month. Every month we let go of those things that are finished and we make space for new growth. But for some reason, or not some reason, the patriarchy say, why should we ever allow something to be destroyed? We should just be allowed to keep doing what we're doing. We are going to get rid of death. And therefore, the energy that they saw that was causing the death, which was often aligned to the serpent or the dragon energy, they say, we will kill the dragon, we will kill the serpent, and we don't ever have to deal with death again. And we will get rid of anything that purports or talks about such a cyclical way of living. We wish to live in a linear way of living. And therefore, the beings, the people who worked with cycles, which were the women, were told that any of your practices that are cyclical and allow this rise and fall of energy to continue, we will paganize, we will create as bad. And that's why women started to be seen, their whole idea of menstrual cycles was seen as a dark energy. Mm-hmm. Anything connected to the moon was seen as lunacy or mental. And the very rituals that women produced, which was teaching people to release the old in order to allow the new, was put away. So many of the temples to both life and death were destroyed. And all the glory went into, let's put glory into fighting and war and maintaining possessing something, but possessing something and that nothing should ever be taken away. Mm. And just finishing this to say that what happened, this was really in the last 100 years, a few hundred years leading up to the beginning of our, what we call as the Christian faith. So I'm talking about 2,000 years ago. We are now living it, and what we're seeing in the world today is the breakdown of structures that have been built up by these patriarchal rules. And people are fighting to keep them going, when really there needs to be a death of the old in order for the new to be born.